Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me. This is Ciara from Ciara T Designs, and welcome to week 10 of my 12 weeks of Christmas series. So let's jump right in. As always, I like to cut down my cardstock first. So we're starting with some HammerMill cardstock. It's just my favorite smooth cardstock for panels. And I'm cutting that down to be 1/4 of an inch smaller than my A2 base, which when scored is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. That's the base size. So this is 1/4 of an inch. I kind of generally eyeball things, to be honest with you guys. So I try to tell you what I'm aiming for, although this is actually 1/4 of an inch smaller on two sides so that we get about a thin border of about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. If you ever have any confusion with the measurements, you can leave me a message in the comments. I do always answer all of my comments. Sometimes it takes me a little bit of time, especially right now just because I'm super busy, but I do always answer all the questions. So feel free to leave them there. I'm going to bring in 2 Tim Holtz dies. These are older dies. I hope they're still available, but there's no right or wrong here. If you have a moon die, bust that out. Give it some love. So I have the Moonlight dies, which is this moon here. It comes with, it was actually a Halloween die, I believe. It's 2 sizes of moon, and it had a bunch of bats in it. Obviously, I'm using it as a Christmas decoration for this one, but I love that die. I think the moon is stunning, and I'm cutting the smaller of the 2 moons from that collection. And then I also have the Vault Christmas Magic dies, and that's where I'm going to get the Santa Claus flying across. There was also I think it was the Tim Holtz December release in 2021 was also a small Santa Claus. So if you have that and not the vault die I'm going to use, that would work beautifully as well. This one is just a touch smaller than the December version. So I chose this one because I actually have both. But there's no right or wrong here. Any Santa Claus would do. We're just going to create a black silhouette running in front of the stunning moon. So I'm going to cut the Santa Claus out of black cardstock, and I've cut the moon out of the same HammerMill cardstock. It's just my general go-to for panels, for ink blending pieces, anything like that. I try not to use it when I'm going to introduce a lot of moisture, however, so you are going to see me splatter it later, but if I have some tips for when we get to the glitter of the moon later, so we'll walk through that in a little bit. So of course I had to poke out all of the pieces, and again, I mean, you guys know that I'm a big believer of using what you have. However, there are a few staples in your collection that I think are super useful, and the moon is kind of one of them because you can use it behind so many different silhouetted images, and it just creates such a fun card. Like, you could do the moon by itself. I mean, I'm intentionally creating a Christmas card, so I've added, Santa and the reindeer in front of the moon, but the moon by itself like this it would be stunning as well. I am going to glitter the moon the same way I glittered the trees a few weeks ago when I did that tree card. If you guys saw it, you know which one I'm referring to. So with this, we're just going to do that. And I'm going to give you some tips when we get there on how you could do it potentially differently. And I'm going to show you something I tried that didn't actually work. So that'll be later in this video in case you don't want to use a spray adhesive. So I did have to poke out all the little pieces. I always show this just because I know there's a lot of beginners, and I know some people don't really appreciate, certain parts of the video. You can always skip ahead if that's not your thing. There's no right or wrong here. I like to leave in as much as I can to make sure that people understand the steps that I'm doing, because if you're new, you need to see all the steps. So that's just kind of why I do that. And then for my ink blending colors, I brought in 5 different colors. I have a light and a dark to each color, and I tried to experiment with a few colors too, so I've got some weird blends going on, but I thought they were kind of fun. So for the moon base, I'm going to do the lightest color, and then behind the moon, I've brought in the darker shade. So in this case, the moon is tumbled glass, the darker shade is broken china, and I'm going to kind of try to create a halo around the moon. So you can see me, I put the moon on the page, I get an eye for generally where it's going to sit, and then I kind of, make a circle motion from there. Because you're going to blend, around the thing, it's easy to put your dabber down in the center. So if you get a weird circle, you don't have to worry about it because it's hidden by the moon. I generally, suggest ink blending onto your page from like a glass mat or something, but for this it doesn't really matter because you can't see it. And I did bring in my lighter tone just to extend the moon aura out a little bit. I don't know if that's the right word, but the colors that are around the moon. So this is a color combo I brought in that's a bit odd. I was trying new things. You guys know that I try to use all of my supplies, and I do own all of the oxides. So I thought it would be kind of fun to try Victorian Velvet and Seedless Preserves together as a moon shade. And I think it turned out really cool at the end. I'll be honest, at this stage, I was kind of unsure whether or not I liked it, but I think that it comes together, and I think that it's just an interesting combo. It might not be your favorite, but I still think that it was a neat combo. So it's one of those things, try out your colors. You could easily do this in all, the same color if you want to do them all blue or all teal or all pink, say. I like to experiment, so I do tend to, bring in different shades of things and give them a go, especially considering I own all of the colors. So it's always kind of funny that way. For the next blend, I'm going to use Shaded Lilac and Wilted Violet. This is one of my favorites, though the purples, again, don't go together. I don't know. You guys have heard me complain about this before. I do feel like we need a bit more purple in the line. I doubt Tim Holtz is going to do new colors. However, it's one of those things, like every time I try to blend the purples, I'm always like, I wish we had just one more in the middle or one more, but it's one of those things. I make it work, and I don't mind Shaded Lilac and Wilted Violet together. I think they kind of create a really interesting color. But again, this is another one that's a bit odd until we get to where it's finished, and then I think it looks really pretty. And then for my kind of tealy colors, I went in with Salvaged, Patina, and Peacock feathers. This is one of my favorite combos for teals. I love how they look. I think they're really pretty. And I am intentionally trying to get a bit of a not smooth blend on the moon. Keep in mind that we're going to put the white piece over top as well, but the moon is not smooth. When you look at it, it's got divots and craters and texture, and it's just kind of an interesting textured thing. So with that, I'm trying to kind of bring that in a bit to the moon we have as well. Now, granted, once we add the white part on top, it's not super obvious that there's texture on the moon, but it's a thing. While I'm creating, I like to add that kind of stuff in, though there's no right or wrong here for it. You can make it smooth if you want, because again, we're going to cover it. So it's not super obvious that I've added that texture in. And then for my pinks, I've got Spun Sugar and Kitsch Flamingo. Now, if you wanted to have the background be a little more vibrant to the Spun Sugar, I would actually use Picked Raspberry, but I'm really liking Kitsch Flamingo. It's just kind of a fun color. So I've been leaning towards it a bit more when I'm doing a lighter blend than with Picked Raspberry. But again, I don't have that option in the purples, right? So I have to kind of work with what we've got in the collection. And that is all the blending for them. So then we're going to kind of get into working on the moon. So first, I am going to add a bunch of texture. Like I said, there's going to be some different stuff going on here. So I'm going to mist the background with some water. That's the part that's like the moon the aura around the moon, the halo around the moon. And I misted the moon itself as well, just a little bit to add, again, that little bit of texture. And then I'm also going to go in and splatter a little bit of Perfect Pearls. I keep this mixed up in a mini mister bottle on my desk. I get a lot of questions about it. I did do a video where I filled it again a while ago. Next time I do that, I'll record a short and just have it on the channel so you guys can come watch if you want to. But for this, I have a mini mister bottle, and I add 1 scoop of Perfect Pearls, then I add a bunch of water, then I shake it up and I splatter it on a scratch piece of paper and see if I like it. Because, you can always add more, but you can't take it away. So it's kind of a building process. So here I thought I would try using glossy accents to add the glitter. I'm going to show you what happens, but I didn't like it. So I'm guessing you need to put it on a fair amount thicker than what I've got going on here. I didn't realize that. So it's sticky, but the glitter didn't stick to the moon. So you're going to see that here in a moment when I try to put the glitter on top. And I'm using the chunky rock candy glitter. I'm loving this stuff. It has the finer details of the rock candy, but then it also has chunkier bits, so you get this really pretty glittery effect, and I thought that was really fun. So that is what I'm using to add it on. That's what I used for the trees as well. And here you can see this is after trying to do it twice. There's pretty much no glitter on there, and I, for the second time, actually kind of glopped a bit more of the glossy accents on. It didn't work, so I'm going to go back to my tried and true spray adhesive. However, If you don't want to use a spray adhesive, which is totally fair, you have to be really careful. You need to vent. You need to be just be aware if you're going to use a spray adhesive that it does make fumes. It does, be careful, please. Okay. So if you don't want to do that, I would suggest using paste. So I would do the moon layer out of something thicker than my HammerMill, probably a watercolor cardstock. And I would cover it in the paste, and then I would let that completely dry. And if you wanted it sparkly, like you could use some of the sparkle pastes that are on the market, or you could just do a white paste and add glitter a bit on top, because it should dry into the paste as the paste dries. Let it dry completely and then adhere it onto your project. So that's kind of if you don't want to do the spray adhesive, that's kind of what I think would work the best outside of that. Or I guess you could go in with like a glitter pen, but the thing I find with glitter pens is the glitter is so fine on them that you're not going to get this same chunky effect. You'll still get a shiny effect. It'll still be really pretty. It just won't be this same chunky glitter effect. So there's no wrong way, do whatever works for you and what you have in your stash. But I have found that I like the spray adhesive and the chunky glitter. You will have some glitter to clean up because you see I'm tapping it on the desk here. I'm holding it down to get the glue to adhere because I'm adhering my two layers together at this point. But with the Tim Holtz glitter, it's static free. And that's the only reason I'm comfortable doing this, because otherwise I would be chasing glitter around for 6 years after this. So, but because the Tim Holtz glitter is static free, I can tap it on my desk and it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't stick to anything. It's not irritating the way I have found a lot of glitters to be. So because of that, I have no issue just like touching it because it doesn't stick to your hand. It doesn't stick to your clothes. It doesn't stick to anything, at least not in my experience. And I live in, northern British Columbia, Canada. I live in a very staticky place in the winter, and I had no issues with this, and I haven't in the past either. So definitely something to keep in mind if you're in the market for a glitter. I would suggest checking out the Rock Candy. I just think it's some of the best on the market because it's incredibly pretty and it's not staticky. So that's my little PSA on the glitters. But yeah, that's what I would try if you don't want to use the spray adhesives. I would definitely use either a glitter paste or alternatively a paste that you're just going to add glitter to, or alternatively a glitter pen. You can try that for sure too. Or if you want to use matte medium, or you could use glue and glitter if you want to do it. This is just the simplest and quickest way I have found. So then I'm going to bring in my Misti that has a Waffle Flower sticky mat in the bottom, and I'm just going to stamp out my sentiment. This is from my favorite sentiment. You guys have seen these sentiments many, many times. It is the Simon Says Stamp Christmas Blessings stamp set. I love it. If you are in the market for a Christmas sentiment stamp set, this by far is the best in my opinion. I use it over and over and over. You guys have seen it 1,000 times. I love the fonts, so it is always my go-to. And then we're going to kind of start building the cards from here. So we just had to adhere everything down. So I want to quickly say a huge thank you to you guys. I am pre-recording my stuff as I do always because the members get early access, but at this very moment, while I'm recording, I am 80 people away from hitting my 20,000 goal of this year. And so I'm assuming, hopefully, that by the time on Monday when this goes up, I will have hit that 20,000 goal. And I am incredibly thankful to you guys. I cannot express how much it means to me. I'm taken aback by the support and the love that you guys share with me all the time. And I'm just so incredibly thankful. So thank you so much for, subscribing to my channel and leaving comments and leaving likes and people signing up for the memberships. And, you are directly contributing to my dreams come true. And it makes me speechless because I am so incredibly thankful that you guys, want to hang out with me every week and you come back and you share your stories with me and you share your creations with me. And we're building kind of a great community. And, the challenges in the Facebook group, it's just, I'm so incredibly thankful. So I thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so, so much for all of your support and love through my channel this is my 5th year on YouTube. And, in this year alone, I actually doubled my subscribers. It took me 4 years. I think we ended last year. I hit, I think it was like November 17th last year, I hit 9,000 subscribers, and like I had doubled that when we hit the same day in November this year. So that is just incredible, and I am so appreciative. So thank you guys so much. And if you're interested in supporting the channel, you can go and check out the memberships. You get early access if you're on the fan tier, which is the higher tier. So I just greatly appreciate you guys who are supporting the channel. You know, everything you do helps the channel. All the likes, all the comments, subscribing, you know, all of that stuff. Like, yeah, thank you guys so much. And of course, you know, there's the freebie over on my webpage. I had to think about that for a second. On my crtdesigns.com, there is a freebie. If you go to the section, it gives you the blending foam holder for free. You just go and get that. You can grab it, and then you can create that blending foam. I have a live stream that shows you how to do that. I have Christmas papers coming out a little late, but they're all hand drawn and hand designed by me. Like, I am so happy with how they turned out. So I can't wait to share those with you guys. I'm hoping to have them up tomorrow or Saturday by the latest. As I said, this is recorded early, of course. So it would be, you know, a couple of days before the Monday when this goes up. As I said, my members get early access to my videos. So when the Thursday video goes up, they actually get access to the Monday video. So they are always a little ahead of everybody as a thank you for, you know, the support to the channel. So, and then back to the cards. You guys know that if you've been with me for any length of time, if there's an excuse to bust out my holographic stars, I will. So I did. You don't need them. I think the card was stunning before we even added the stars. However, if I can add embellishments, I will. So I did. I just love them so much. So I added those just a couple on the card, just 5, because, you know, I like uneven numbers. And then that's pretty much the whole card. I didn't do anything on the inside of these guys this time. I didn't know what I wanted to add. I love how they look. I don't know. You could have stamped something on the inside maybe. And then this one, it's stuck crooked, and you're going to see me like yank it back off of the base in a second. I stuck it down, and it wouldn't let me shift it. And so I couldn't get it to lay nicely. So I actually lifted it up right away again. And then the glue has pretty much like dried on at this point, so it won't even let me shift it around. So I actually like lifted it again and re-glued it, and then it was good. I generally have no problem lining stuff up, but for whatever reason, I could not get that one to line up nicely. So I just quickly kind of shifted it around until I was happy with it. And then I am going to just adhere them all. There's nothing else really added at this point. This is kind of the finished card, but I'm pretty excited with how they turned out. I can't wait to hear what you guys think. And then tell me what you think about the 2 colors that were a bit different, the Shaded Lilac and Wilted Violet, and the Victorian Velvet and Seedless Preserves. Tell me your thoughts on those together. Like, once they're done here, I think that the colors actually turned out pretty neat. But when I was ink blending them, it was a little like, I don't know if I like that very much. But I think they turned out kind of cool. Like, I really like Shaded Lilac and Wilted Violet. I think that one's stunning, but you guys know I love purples. So it's not a surprise that I think the purple one's one of the prettiest of the collection. But that is the card I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll leave me a like, leave me a comment, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. I do new videos every Monday and Thursday, and we are almost finished the 12 Weeks of Christmas series. Hard to believe there's only 2 videos left. And then, of course, the video that goes up on Thursday, Christmas Day, will be Christmas themed because it is Christmas Day. But that is what I have for you guys today. So if you've made it all the way to the end of the video, my thanks. That is a huge thing to YouTube. Staying till the end is a big thing for them, so I really appreciate it. Leave me your favorite holiday emoji if you've made it all the way to the end. Thank you guys again so much, and I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.